Anchoring. The first number you see determines everything that comes after it. Not sometimes, every time. When a store shows you a jacket originally priced at $500, now on sale for $200, your brain doesn't ask whether $200 is a fair price. It asks whether $200 is a good deal compared to $500. And it is, so you buy it. You never stop to question the $500. That number was put there specifically so you wouldn't. Retailers, car dealerships, and salary negotiators have known this for decades. Whoever puts the first number on the table controls the entire conversation that follows. The anchor doesn't have to be reasonable. It doesn't even have to be real. It just has to reach your eyes first. In one study, participants spun a wheel that landed on either 10 or 65, then guessed the percentage of African countries in the UN. The people who spun 65 guessed nearly twice as high as those who spun 10. A random, meaningless number rewired their answer. This is happening to you every single day, and you almost never notice it. The scarcity illusion. There are 3 left in stock. This offer expires in 24 hours. Only 2 rooms remaining at this price. You've seen these. You've felt the urgency they create. And that urgency is exactly what they were designed to produce. Because the moment you believe something is scarce, you want it more. You stop evaluating whether you actually need it. You start worrying about losing it. That shift happens automatically, before your rational mind can catch up. The countdown timer on that booking site? It often resets the moment it hits 0. The only 3 left label on Amazon can sit there for weeks without changing. The urgency you felt was real. The scarcity wasn't. Your anxiety did exactly what it was designed to do. Social proof. You are far more likely to do something if you believe other people are already doing it. This isn't a character flaw. It's an ancient survival shortcut. When your ancestors didn't know if a food was safe, watching others eat it without dying was a perfectly rational strategy. That same mechanism is now running in the background every time you choose a restaurant based on reviews, laugh because a laugh track told you to, or find yourself softening on an opinion because everyone around you seems to hold the opposite one. 5-star ratings, follower counts, view numbers, applause, all of it is engineered to trigger the same instinct. And cults use it more deliberately than anyone. When you're surrounded by people who all believe the same thing with total certainty, your doubts don't feel like reasonable skepticism anymore. They feel like your problem. The crowd becomes the evidence, and you start to wonder what's wrong with you for questioning it. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. In the tech industry, this is called FUD, and it is a deliberate, documented strategy. If your product can't beat the competition, you make people afraid of the competition instead. You don't need proof. You just need to plant a seed in someone's mind and let their imagination do the rest. You've seen this in political ads that never make a direct claim, but leave you with a feeling of unease about a candidate. You've seen it in news headlines designed not to inform you, but to make you anxious enough to keep reading. The formula is the same every time. Find something you're already uncertain about, tie your target to it, and repeat. Because the more you hear something, even something false, the more familiar it becomes. And your brain mistakes familiarity for truth. That's the illusory truth effect, confirmed in study after study. You don't need to be convinced. You just need to be exposed enough times. The foot in the door technique. If someone wants something big from you, they won't ask for it first. They'll ask for something small. In a 1966 study, researchers asked homeowners to place a small sign in their window supporting safe driving. Most said yes. Weeks later, they asked the same homeowners to put a large, ugly billboard on their front lawn. The people who had agreed to the small sign were 4 times more likely to say yes to the billboard. Because by then, agreeing to the first request had already changed how they saw themselves. They were now the kind of person who cares about safe driving. Saying no to the billboard would have created a conflict with their own identity. Cults run on this exact sequence. First, it's a free dinner, then a weekend retreat, then a deeper commitment, then another. Each step feels small because it's only slightly larger than the one before. By the time you realize how far you've come, your identity is already wrapped up in the group. Leaving doesn't just mean walking away. It means dismantling part of who you think you are. Variable reward. This is the mechanism behind a $1 trillion industry, and it's running on your phone right now. Every slot machine operates on the same principle. Unpredictable rewards are more addictive than predictable ones. When you don't know if the next pull will pay out, you cannot stop pulling. B.F. Skinner proved this with pigeons in the 1950s. The pigeons on a random reward schedule pressed the lever more obsessively than any other group, including the ones that received food every single time. Your phone works the same way. Every time you pull down to refresh, you don't know what you're going to get. Something interesting, or nothing. That uncertainty is not a side effect. It was engineered. Former tech insiders have said publicly that the feedback loops in these platforms were built to be dopamine-driven by design. The goal was never to inform you or connect you. The goal was to make it impossible for you to put it down. Gaslighting. This one works because it doesn't attack what you know. It attacks your ability to trust that you know anything at all. It starts small. You remember a conversation going a certain way. Someone you trust tells you that's not what happened. You wonder if you misremembered. It happens again and again. Slowly, you stop relying on your own memory. You start going to them to confirm what's real. Once that shift happens, they control the narrative completely. You're no longer evaluating their version against yours. You've already decided yours can't be trusted. This is used in abusive relationships, by governments that quietly rewrite the historical record, and by institutions that deny what their own documents prove. The defense is straightforward and harder than it sounds. Write things down. Date them. Keep records. Your memory can be manipulated. A document is much harder to argue with. The Overton Window. Right now, there is a range of ideas that your society considers acceptable to say out loud. That range has a name, the Overton Window, and it moves. If you want to make a radical idea seem reasonable, you don't introduce it directly. You introduce something far more extreme first. Suddenly, the original idea isn't radical anymore. It's the moderate position. It's the compromise. You feel like you're being reasonable by accepting it. This happens in politics on every side, constantly. Positions get floated not because anyone expects them to pass, but because they shift the center of gravity of what feels normal. A year later, you hold views you would have rejected outright the year before, and you can't quite trace how you got there. That's the window moving. Most people never feel it happen. Manufactured consent. In a society where you can't control people by force, you control them by shaping what they think is worth thinking about. This idea was laid out by Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman. It doesn't require anyone giving orders. It just requires that the people who own and run major media institutions share broadly similar interests, and that those interests quietly shape what gets covered, how it gets framed, and what never gets asked at all. You consume news every day believing you're being informed. But the selection of what counts as news, what makes the front page, what gets ignored, what gets framed as a crisis versus a footnote, that selection is made by people with interests. The most effective censorship isn't blocking information. It's ensuring that certain questions never occur to you in the first place. Love bombing. Before the control, there is always the flood. Love bombing is the deliberate overwhelming of a target with attention, affection, praise, and intensity, compressed into a short period of time to create fast, deep emotional attachment. It's used by narcissists, by abusive partners, and by cults recruiting new members. It works because your brain can't tell the difference between this and genuine connection. The dopamine and oxytocin responses are identical. You feel seen, chosen, understood, in a way you've never been understood before. That feeling creates loyalty that will survive almost anything that comes after it. Because even when things get bad, and they will, part of you keeps trying to get back to how it felt at the start. That initial intensity isn't proof that something real was there. In many cases, it's the first warning sign that something wasn't. The default effect. You probably haven't changed most of your default settings. Not on your phone, not on the apps you use, not on the accounts you've signed up for. Almost nobody does. And the people who design these systems know that. Whoever controls the default controls the outcome. Studies on organ donation found that countries with opt-out systems, where you're automatically a donor unless you actively choose not to be, have donation rates above 90%. Countries where you have to opt in hover around 15%. Same people, different default. That single design choice saves thousands of lives per year, or costs them, depending on which side of it you're on. Your phone shipped with location tracking enabled. Your apps defaulted to sending you every possible notification. Your streaming service plays the next episode before you've decided if you want to watch it. None of these are neutral design choices. Every default was set by someone for a reason, and that reason was not your convenience. Every single one of these techniques has been tested, refined, and is being used on you right now, by the platforms you use every day, by the ads you scroll past, by the news you read, and sometimes by the people closest to you. Knowing about them doesn't make you immune, but it changes the game slightly. It means the next time you feel sudden urgency, or find yourself agreeing with something you can't explain, or feel irrationally attached to someone you barely know, you have a name for what's happening. And a name is the beginning of control. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, let me know in the comments.